Good evening, and welcome to another stupid episode of Diatribes from the voice of doom. Now here's your stupendous and stupefying host, voice of doom. Thank you, Mr. Announcer. I don't know if that was supposed to mean anything, but I will keep you on for a few more episodes. Excuse me, while I open up this expensive shot of Fireball. It's actually pretty good. I think they're missing a bet. Maybe they're going with volume because everybody loves it, and it's very cheap. So, cheers. Another off-the-cuff thing I want to talk about what everybody isn't really paying a lot of attention to. I'm surprised. Because usually when I see something interesting, then, in the afternoon, I know that the nightly touts will pick it up and talk about it. But they didn't, so I'm wondering why. It's the first day of the Second Civil War of America. Second American Civil War, and it's going to be very civil. Not going to be like the last Civil War where there was dead bodies everywhere. It's going to be, just people clawing at each other with words and with ideas and with malfeasance and dirty tricks and underhanded nonsense and revenge. And I'm seeing revenge and I'm liking it. I'll tell you why. This is the first day of the Civil War. And I don't know why people didn't notice it, but a governor of a major state in what used to be the United States signed some executive orders. And he put his name and pen on that paper. So it's no joke. Because he did it in front of everybody. And he is sick and tired of having to foot the bill for a lot of thousands of immigrants coming into this country, and God knows what's becoming of them. But it stands to reason that if they're coming in with knapsacks and they got shorts on and thongs, that they don't have a whole lot, so we're footing the bill for their upkeep. That's obvious. And the southern border states are footing most of the bill. Especially a big state like Texas, it's got a lot of room. And so Petri Dish has been shuttling people from the border into various cities and townships across America. But it's especially impacting the states that are already being, overrun, obviously. Because there's getaways, so they're not being shuttled anywhere, they're just coming in. And I got nothing against immigrants, I really don't, but I want them to be vetted. And I don't even know why I say that, because I know something bad's going to happen, so we may as well just let it happen. But if I was in charge, such as the last and final president, I would say everybody's going to be vetted who gets into this country, and we're going to regulate how many people come in. Because you just can't have everybody in the world coming into America willy-nilly. It's much easier just to take over their countries. I think that's much more expedient. That's what I'd do, but it's a little draconian. People aren't ready for that. But what this governor did, getting back to that, is he signed a paper saying we're going to take some money and get some charter buses and start shuttling these people to D.C., and he said the first bus is going to be right on the Capitol steps. So it's going to be interesting to see them getting out of the bus on the Capitol steps and what's going to become of them after that. It's like, here you go. Oh, we didn't give them anything. They just have their knapsacks and their little Smucker's sandwiches and whatever cookies and whatever they managed to bring along with them, but that's, the last truck stop. But no, they got nothing. Here you go. That's going to be great to see. I'm going to really love seeing that. And it's going to be Fort Sumter, because while Petri dish has the blessing of the far left to shuttle people who may have any kind of bomb and any kind of disease or any kind of drug into all parts of the United States, that's all well and good because it's Petri dish. And he denies that he is doing it because he denies everything he's done. That never happened. It's like, well, we heard it happen. Well, it didn't happen. You heard wrong. All right. It's obvious that he's useless, but he's dangerous. Now, I wanted to get into a little bit of discussion of the dichotomy of the two tribes. And before I do that, I want to add a coda to the meeting of the minds that we had to see yesterday with the former half-white president and the gargoyle and Petri. And the biggest thing in the news was Petri dish wandering around aimlessly after the meeting and the big rally, and nobody wanted to talk to him, and everybody was ignoring him, and people found that kind of strange that the President of the United States would be ignored as if he's some old uncle or grandpa that just wanders around and doesn't really say much, and nobody talks to him because he's demented. Interesting. That was the big news, but the big news was this Texas thing, and you go and look into that Texas thing. He's going to get draconian with these people, and I see more lawsuits. I see a lot more money being given to people who came from wherever because they're going to get gashed up. And so I can see that happening. But I wanted to just add a coda about Petri being ignored because everybody else talked about it. And I made up a new word that I added in my description of the last one because I couldn't think of a word that means a craving for adulation. So I came up with cravadulation, or cravendulation. I think cravadulation is good. A craving for adulation. Just like I need applause. People have been talking bad about me so much. I need to do anything to get people to clap for me. It's pathetic. It would be a joke if we were in some sort of a 1950s or whatever atmosphere where we just have a doddering old guy, but we have danger all around us. And our leaders are not leading. So everybody knows that, and they're starting to realize that. And I'd like to see the governor of Texas lay down these edicts. I want to see buses loaded up, and I want to see all these guys with their knapsack driven over to the Capitol steps. That'll be beautiful. Love to see it. I hope they follow through. They better not putz around, because that's the problem with the tribes, is the one tribe talks tough. They don't do anything. We know who they are. The the turtle. I don't want to call him that because that's Russia's epitaph, or Russia's epithet. So, but yeah, he's useless. All those old rhinos are useless because they're not going to get to the bottom of anything because they'll expose themselves in the process. But the main thing I wanted to talk about at the end was that, when one side faces the other, and you should watch it, and you don't have to watch it for the information yet, you watch it for the interaction, because Sean Penn did an interview with Hannity, and they're polar opposites politically. And we know who is who, and maybe they go too far on one way or the other, And maybe they're knee-jerk reactionaries on both sides. I have to be this way because I'm very rich and I made money by acting. And I married Madonna and I feel like I need to relate to the oppressed. So we will say that everything's unfair. And then we have the other guy who's like, I'm a conservative. I want to see values that, moral values. And I want to see, justice and, the whole conservative thing, which you're not going to get. But it was interesting to watch them interact because I think one thing about conservatives is they want to get along with the others. But they can't get along as long as the others are absolutely intractable and can't even give an inch. Because if you give an inch, they learned that in politics like about 30, 40 years ago. I noticed when it happened. It was around Watergate or maybe a little after that, Clinton, I think, when each side couldn't give an inch. They could never admit they were wrong because it would be used against them. So they were always right. No matter how much cognitive dissonance is involved with them saying they're right, they'll never admit they're wrong. And if you are a Buddhist thinker, you gotta admit you're wrong. Otherwise, you're not going to improve. And the world's not going to improve. So that's a very obvious thing about life. But I noticed that Hannity was saying, we can talk. We may not agree about most things, but we can at least talk. And I could see by, Penn's body language that he just wanted to get his word out, but he wasn't going to capitulate to anything. And I think they agreed on a lot. That's the thing about it, is people are have more common ground than they want to give themselves credit for. That's my brilliant statement for the day. They really do, but they're so stuck and entrenched in their idiocy, both sides. Patriotism on one side and freaking CRT and TGT on the other side, and everybody's got to be treated fairly and equally, and sometimes you can't do that. And I'm sorry about that. But what they should do, just on this subject, I had an idea, is what they should do is really put in writing the criteria for getting into a college or getting into something, whatever, let's say a college. And they could have right on the college requirements, if you are white, you must have an average 560 on your SATs. But if you're a person of color, Hispanic, or South Pacific Islander, you only need a 520. Put that in writing. I mean, that would be a great way to show people, hey, wait a minute, you think I'm worse than you? I'd be more pissed if I was the South Pacific. But, it'd be good to just, instead of saying, we need more equity, just put it in writing. Yeah. If you're this way, then you don't need as big a score to get in because you're not as good. That's a brilliant idea. You should do that. But I gave you a lot in there, and that was right off the cuff. I didn't even finish my fireball. So I'll have a little. I think I said some good stuff. And you just watch. The Civil War is coming. And it's going to be really fun to watch. I can't wait for that first bus to drive in front of the Capitol and drop those people off. It'll be a great day in what used to be America. So I'll leave it at that. I know I offended everybody. And I'm happy to do that because I'm on the outside. So have a good evening and enjoy.